Hey everyone, welcome to Beyond the OC, formerly known as Welcome to the OC Bitches. Just if you're wondering. I am Melinda Clark and I'm here with...
CG Mirich. I just pulled off one of my nails.
Oh gosh. Okay, don't do that.
We have our lovely Patreon people in the audience, and Steven said, look, we're wearing matching green tops, Mom.
Green, I know, matches my eyes.
We're both wearing green today. Matches my eyes too.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so the Sister Act. When we did the last podcast, we had Deborah Hassenklein, who's such a lovely, she's an executive at Fox, and she had reached out to me after I did an episode of Fantasy Island, and she just said, I want to be on the show, which is a very interesting thing for me because the one thing that I wanted when we were doing the Welcome to the OC Bitches, I wanted the executive point of view. And I had reached out to a couple people and it didn't work out. So it was great to get somebody who was an executive. However, in the book, we actually got the Gail Berman, who was the head of Fox, and Peter Roth, who's the head of Warner Brothers, Yvette Urbina, some others. And that was the part that my brain I wanted to know what was going on behind the scenes because actors, we just don't know. And so it's really interesting for me to listen to the podcast and just kind of speculate and wonder back then, and now to have it so much more explained. So I thought that was really interesting. Although I do have to say something, CG, this exercise of us listening to Welcome to the OC Bitches podcast, like going back, it's hard for me to listen.
Why?
Did you notice on that episode how much I talked? I guess it's a podcast, right? Like I just was like,
no.
Well, okay. So Rachel was in Canada, and I'm guessing that sometimes when she was in Canada,
she was like cutting out, so you were talking more.
Well, there's either a delay or because I felt like she didn't. Anyway, it ends up being I think
you always talk a lot, so maybe I just wasn't fazed by hearing your voice so much. Because you tend to, like, when people are talking, they'll be on a thought and you go, okay, well, this happened next. And just kind of like keep pushing it forward. And I'm like, well, that's just what you do. You're a big personality.
Oh, am I? Well, I think that going back, we were still going scene by scene by scene. And then Rachel and I changed the format where we did it a little bit more like you and I are doing it, more like a conversation. So where we just like let it flow. And Rachel and I found that having to go scene by scene was really limiting.
All right. So number 44 in the countdown, The Sister Act. I believe this is season 3, episode 12.
Directed by lovely Ian Toynton, written by Josh Schwartz and Lila Gerstein.
So I guess I'll read the intro as like a teenage girl, but like I've already done Valley Girl. So what does like teenage girl entail?
Well, you watched Kaitlin in the episode. I think don't do it so Valley Girl. Just like she's kind of and the whole point of this Kaitlin is she's this grown up, mature woman at 14.
Okay. Trouble rolls into town like a rogue wave when yours truly, Caitlyn Cooper, decides to grace Newport with my presence, fresh from boarding school. And let me tell ya, I'm not just a chip off the old block. I'm practically carving my own path in the devious department, much like my dear old mom, Julie. Mom's got some serious explaining to do about our living situation. I was not expecting to see a trailer park, and I'm wasting no time stirring up trouble. I'm spinning more fibs than a politician, trying to keep Ryan and Marissa in the dark about my hot mess. But I'm really just misunderstood. While evil Veronica Townsend swoops in like Cruella de Vil to ruin the fun, blackmailing Kirsten into setting her up with Summer's dad. And poor Johnny. Well, let's say he's got his hands full trying to get over Marissa and navigating Minnie Coop all grown up.
Very good. Very good. Yes. Veronica Townsend. Who's the Cruella de Vil.
Yeah, so let's start with that storyline because I think that's the least dramatic storyline, but also the funniest of the episode. Definitely the funniest storyline of the episode. And I liked what you guys said on the last podcast, how this is one storyline we see very, very rarely where the parents and the kids are involved in the exact same thing. Like they get into cahoots with each other. It's not two separate ones, which I thought was funny.
They should have done more.
Yeah.
They should have done more of that, right? Steven says, safe to say opinions evolve from rewatching previous podcast episodes. Yeah, they could definitely evolve, and especially when you have more knowledge.
Oh my God. I was thinking about when I was on your and Rachel's podcast, and I was thinking about this the other day, just listening to you and Rachel talk. And you guys did like a speed fire round asking Ryan or Volchek. And I said Volchek?
Which one you prefer?
Yeah. And now I'm like, CG, what the hell? No, I would prefer Ryan always.
Well, the character, not the actor.
Yeah.
Because Cam Gigande is,
No, the character.
Okay.
And I said Volchek.
Well,
See,
who knows?
Opinions can change. I don't know what I was thinking in that moment.
In that moment, you could have just been into a slightly devious, I don't know. You wanted the bad boy.
I don't know, man.
Well, yes. So let's get into this.
Yeah, we got a little off topic. So
let's get into this
one. As we saw previously, Marissa gets back into Harbor, and Veronica Townsend was the one who was like, I don't want her back. So now we see Veronica Townsend coming to Kirsten and saying, with your new dating service, you and Julie need to set me up with Dr. Roberts, or I'm going to make Marissa's life a living hell. Let me just say, why is a parent like so involved in like a teenage girl's life? That made no sense to me. I was like, you're going to make a child's life a living hell if you don't get set up on a date?
Yes. Well, one of the things that we kept kind of speculating why this came up, but we said this in the last podcast and our last podcast last week, but also the fact that, and now reading, they were getting told every single day, make it more Desperate Housewives. And the whole point, they had murder and they had these, crazy femme fatales. And that's just not what the OC was. And especially now that Julie was becoming a little softer, they needed Veronica to do this. In fact, they probably should have done more of it, possibly. I don't know. But I think it's the absurdity of it. And Kirsten going, what? Oh my gosh, we have to do something about this because it's like family.
I don't think this joke would fly anymore. But Kirsten goes, you literally just called her Little Miss Columbine the other day. Where I don't think that's a very like politically correct joke anymore. But I was like, what did she just say?
Right.
That was written in the script.
Well, and I think though that was what these characters were like. I had a problem. There were so many times in the first two seasons where my dialogue was so harsh, I would start laughing. It was so harsh and I couldn't say it, or I'd have to get the giggles out to say it because I couldn't say it with a straight face because who would even say that kind of stuff? But characters like Julie and Veronica.
Well, no, Kirsten said it.
Oh, yes. Well, because she's repeating what that character said.
Right.
Right. But I do love that she instantly goes to Sandy and Sandy's like, we don't negotiate with noopsies. There's, if there was anything about this episode that I wanted to do, and I don't think I kind of thought about it in the beginning, to write down how many great one-liners there were.
There were a lot in this episode.
There's a lot.
Especially in this storyline. Like, this storyline's the funniest one.
Right.
And it's just all funny one-liners, especially Sandy and Seth.
Yes. So he says, we don't negotiate with noopsies.
Yeah.
And then the scene where, once Kirsten sees that Julie somehow, she sees them together.
Yeah. But like, I was surprised. You guys mentioned this in the last podcast. Kirsten asked Sandy to ask Dr. Roberts about it. I was like, they're friends? Kirsten was like, they golf together, but you never see them ever be friends. And I was like, this is interesting.
Well, it's just that, there's tons of stuff that happens off screen. Right. We know that. And so, Sandy doesn't even want to do it. Nobody wants to do it. But I think it's wild to go from different episodes in this countdown like we're doing and then go, why is everyone so has so much empathy and sympathy for Julie right now because she's living in a trailer. It's like people care about her.
Yeah.
And she really feels
Julie
a part
in
of
this episode. I'm like, oh my God, wait, she's really nice. She's really sweet. That's weird.
Well, and everyone Sandy and Kirsten, and they want to take care of her. And even Seth and Summer want to make sure that she's okay.
That scene was so cute where Seth and Summer are sitting on the ground in Seth's bedroom. Scene. And Sandy walks in. He's like, no, it was a oneer. It was a one and done. And they're like, no, I don't think so. And they all get in cahoots. And Seth goes, genital warts. That was another great one-liner, just saying genital warts. And the parents are in on it. They're like, come up with a scheme. Let's make it happen.
Right. There were some great moments. You could tell that Rachel and Adam were kind of in their thing where they were being literally just Rachel and Adam. You know, she's like, huh? She did a lot of Rachel-isms, and she was having a hard time not keeping a straight face with Adam.
Yeah. But so speaking of Julie being like so sweet, we get to the party and see Dr. Roberts flirting with whatever Mrs. Townsend, and Julie's
Townsend.
like, wait, but I have feelings for him. And you're like, oh, Julie's actually like sweet in this episode.
Yeah, she is. So let's see, where are we? Let's get to some comments. To start, I just wanted to say there was a release. So this episode I was able to post, and there was the cutest little comment, and I think it was a spelling, but I just thought it was so cute. The person wrote Molly Graham, I think it says Malligram. I cloud cry. I miss all of this. And
Definitely saying I could cry.
But think about it. I was like, a cloud cry means that you have a lot of water. It means like if you cry like a cloud, that means it's rain. So I was like, is that on purpose? I just had to comment on that. I thought it was so cute. But I thought this was just a great way to start. And I wanted to acknowledge this because Diana Z said, thank you, Melinda Clark. And she should add CG Marriage too, but for still being so invested and committed to the show. This is something unique and beautiful to see. Most actors tend to be disconnected from a show after so many years, which is also understandable, but you make us feel so invested after all these years. And we highly appreciate you and everything you do. Much love.
Just needed to puff up your head a little bit, toot your own horn.
Well, I wanted to say...
Wow, very modest, Mom. Way to read that comment and be modest.
No, it's a genuine comment. And I wanted to say thank you back because, you know, we do this. I don't know how many people, I don't necessarily know how many people are watching and all that.
I'm just fucking with you, Mom.
Okay, sorry. Look, CG's the one that makes me like scared. Oh, little Miss Minnie Coop. In the meantime, you know, Johnny continues to lie about Marissa on the tour. See, I just got hot. I got hot. Ugh. I don't know.
Yeah, because Johnny is so freaking annoying. That's why you got hot. Just hearing his name, I'm like, get out of here.
He got a lot of flack. You know, they said they cast him off a tape.
Oh my God, no, the actor was great. I hate the character.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're awful.
When she shows up, she's like, I haven't seen him. And then Chili still wants, they use Chili to get her to give her the information, to give Marissa the information. And I said in the last podcast, like, good for him to say, I can't see you anymore. Please don't. And she's not getting it, you know, and I kept thinking like, why is Marissa doing this? She feels so guilty about his broken leg or the accident. And she still owes him, and she keeps coming back. And he finally says, go away. I can't be friends with you.
But also, I think it's kind of...
She likes him.
I think everyone can see, like, it's very blatantly obvious that he's in love with her. And, like, Marissa can either see it and is ignoring it or just has no idea. And I will say, I have been in a situation in high school where someone was so blatantly, obviously in love with me, and I had no idea. I was like, he just wants to be my friend. He just wants to be my friend. And it's over my head. Absolutely no idea. Like, ruined it's just like,
I don't
know.
agree.
High school girls are like, you're not thinking about how you're making them feel. You're like, I feel bad. I want to be this person's friend. This is really just my good friend. I promise. Whether you actually believe it or you're just telling yourself that, mm-hmm. I understand where Marissa is.
You know, it's not just high school. You could go through life in a number of different situations and when you spend time with people, male or female, whatever, and the next thing you know, somebody's developed feelings and there could be confusing, or they like somebody. I don't know if they fully fall in love, or they just have an attraction and it's not reciprocated by the other person, and you think you're just friends. I think that can happen often for women. And of course, it is plausible that every guy that Marissa ever meets and she's nice to and they become friends, has feelings. I think it's very plausible. It's very, very plausible.
For sure.
Yeah. It's just that for some reason, poor little Johnny, he just, I don't know why it doesn't resonate. Like, it was supposed to be set up that he could, they wanted the audience to almost root for him. And for some reason, it just didn't work out.
He's whiny.
Yeah. I don't know.
He's like sad puppy that is like, or not sad puppy, because I love a sad puppy and I don't love Johnny. But like, he's just like, like to an extent, it's whiny to me. Like, and I think that's what people see. Like, he's like, no, stay away from me. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that.
Okay.
Like, I can't be friends with you. Like going back and forth, just like always having a sour look. I'm just like, you're whiny.
Okay. So your response is now kind of, I think, representative of how it was received by the audience.
I understand why the character's there. Like, I'm not saying anything about the writing, but I think, I can't remember the actor's name, but like, I think he did a good job. Like,
Ryan Donahue. Yeah.
Ryan Donahue did a good job. He got in between Ryan and Marissa. Like, he played Johnny really well. It's nothing against the writing or the actor. I just hate the character. And that's what it's supposed to do. You're supposed to bring in people to cause drama between the core four. Like, he did what he was meant to do. But I'm like, oh, you bug me.
Who did they say they saw for this role? Was it like Sebastian Stan or something?
That would have been too, like, I think Sebastian Stan would have been too Oliver-y. He, like, I think Johnny needed to be like, look like a sad puppy.
They definitely saw him.
I remember in the book they said they
don't remember.
Else.
Yeah, they don't remember who they saw, and they were like, what? Anyway.
But he's annoying.
I wanted to let you know that I had an exchange with Ryan, and he declined to come on the show.
Last time.
Yes, he declined to come on. He didn't say it was anything. It didn't work out for his schedule.
Well, you've said that he received a lot of backlash. That's something I don't understand about, like, television. Like, I've heard many things about this. Like, there's a show, and an actor comes on and breaks up the main couple, and they start dating. And the actor themselves, like, start receiving, like, death threats and stuff. Like, I've heard actors talk about this on podcasts and in interviews, like, because their character is so hated or something, like, them as an actor get death threats. And I think that's what happened with Ryan Donahue a bit. Like, people were like, how dare you do this? You're such an annoying character. Like, why? But it's like, he's an actor and he did a phenomenal job playing what Johnny needed to be. Yeah. I don't know, just a little rant about that, because I listened to a podcast recently and someone was like, yeah, I was like, got death threats.
Wow. Well, we know there's one that's actually quite public. Ian Somerhalder and Nikki Reed are married, and to this day, I think he gets
because people want Elena and Damon together
in real life.
People send death threats to Nikki Reed, and they're like, "How dare you break up Elena and Damon?"
They don't actually send death threats.
Oh my god,
really?
Mom! People comment on her on like Instagram and YouTube videos, and are like, "How dare you get between them? Like, you're awful. Like, horrible things."
Okay,
people are nuts.
This is where I'm going to let you know that's not a good fan. Sorry.
No, the internet is a scary place.
Do not be that
person.
Don't
like it there. But I'm saying, like, I think after reading the book and doing my own bit of research, I think not maybe death threats. That could be a reach. But that's what happened with Ryan Donahue a bit. I think people were like, we hate Johnny. Why is Johnny still here? And I think it could have gotten personal based on like you read between the lines when you're reading the book. That's the perception I got a bit from it. That
Steven has a question. He said, can it ever be beneficial to an actor to be hated so much from a fictional character? Yeah, I think it can be.
I mean, I think it can boot, like, be good for the franchise or whatever show it is, and and like keep it going. Like, people see you in public and they're like, oh, I hate your character. Like, when you have such strong feelings towards a character, I think that's really good. But once it turns personal to the actual actor and it's like real hatred, I don't see how that is like beneficial or helps anything.
Right.
Hate the character as much as you want. I think that's the point of a lot of television characters or movie characters. But
the
actor is just doing a job.
Julie was, definitely hated for a long time.
Yeah.
Also, Amanda, I've had a lot of characters that were hated.
Yeah, you're a bitch in a lot of your shows, Mom.
The The B word follows me. Hey guys, we want to share something exciting with you. As you all know, CG and I are always on the lookout for the best activewear that can keep up with our busy lives.
That's right, Mom. You know, we have finally found it with Rhone. We both just wear activewear all the time, and their all new women's studio collection is a total game changer.
Ladies, we know how frustrating it is to have closets full of ill-fitting or uncomfortable workout clothes. I know I have so many that you just don't really want to wear. Rhone has stepped up to that challenge. Their activewear is the most comfortable, breathable, and versatile we've ever tried.
They totally are 100%. They have everything from bras, skirts, shorts, leggings, tanks, sweatshirts. No matter what workout you're doing, bar, Pilates, yoga, going on a walk, going on a run, you name it, their activewear has got you covered.
What I love most about Rhone is how they prioritize fit and functionality. Their luxe fabrics like Cosmic Knit and Celestial Knit are so soft and breathable, you'll forget you're even wearing workout clothes. I have been loving my new favorite outfit. It's the Dream Glow pullover in taupe mist, the Revive pocket leggings in the gray lilac color, and the long line bra in the same color. I love it, not just because it's like great, and it feels so wonderful, but it's not the basic boring black that I usually get. And it literally feels like I'm wearing like the absolute lightest, most luxurious fabric I've ever worn.
Oh yeah, and Rhone stitches innovation into every seam. Their pieces are chafe-free and supportive, perfect for wearing it all day like you do, Mom, because you only wear activewear pretty much. Mm-hmm. You probably have leggings on right now. You literally live in your workout clothes. Plus, they've got this amazing gold fusion anti-odor technology, which means more wears between your washes and no more lingering odors. Sounds like a huge plus for you, Mom.
What are you trying to say? Well, it is true. I can wear them as much as I want because after all, I don't sweat, I only glow. Trust us. It is time for unparalleled confidence without all the hassle. Rhone's women's studio collection is designed to be flattering and functional for your entire day. From your morning workout to running errands or even a casual lunch date with your booty call.
Oh boy.
Whether I'm on the treadmill or running errands, Rhone's activewear moves with me and keeps me fresh and stylish all day long.
So if you want to upgrade your activewear game, head over to rhone.com/OC and use promo code OC to save 20% off your entire order. That's RHONE.com/OC and use code OC for 20% off.
Rhone, for every day, for every you, forever forward. CG, this year, it's gone by so quickly, and I just feel like I have so much more I still want to accomplish, but sometimes I feel kind of overwhelmed with everything that's going on. There's work, personal stuff, and just life in general. And sometimes it's really hard to manage it all.
I totally get it. I mean, I moved across the country almost 7 months ago now. This year has flown by. It doesn't feel like I've been here that long. And I can totally relate to you. And when you keep those feelings inside, it can really start to weigh you down. But when life goes so fast, it's super important to take a moment and celebrate your wins.
Exactly. That's why I look forward to talking to my therapist. She is so helpful. And therapy, like BetterHelp, can help you take stock of your progress and set achievable goals for the next 6 months.
That's so, so true. I love my therapist, and therapy has made such a big change in my world. The kids on the OC should have been going to therapy too. It's a safe space where I can learn positive coping skills, set boundaries, and honestly just become the best version of myself.
And you don't need to have gone through something major to benefit from it. It's for anyone who wants to improve their mental well-being.
So if you've been thinking about starting therapy, why not give BetterHelp a try? It's so convenient. You do it all online, which means you can fit it into your busy, busy schedule.
Yes. All you need to do is fill out a quick questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And if you feel like switching therapists, you can do that at any time at no extra cost.
So if you're just itching to get things off your chest, BetterHelp is an amazing option.
Visit betterhelp.com/beyondoc today and get 10% off your first month.
That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/beyondoc.
Take the step forward to feeling better. You deserve it.
Absolutely. We're here for you.
Now back to the show.
Let's get into Kaitlin, because this was this has so much content all over, not just because I posted about it. There's past posts when it happened.
the fact that they chose to age up Caitlyn and recast her for very, very, very good reasons. So she returns. She hasn't been back in a couple years.
Her entrance, so fucking funny.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think a lot of, you guys said this on the last podcast, a lot of the things she said, again, wouldn't be appropriate to be said now, but it's the delivery where she's like, well, I went here and that's not my mom. And he said I could find my mom here. And obviously my mom's not here. And then I looked at the shoes. Prada. Me. Like, her delivery of it is perfect.
Right. I think it was because nobody knew. It's like, here's this girl.
No one knows who she is.
We got a speak pipe from a girl, and she just says the monologue. She's like, this is my favorite line. And she just says the monologue.
Well, also, it's so funny that she goes, you're not going to let me in, Ryan? Like, you haven't aged. And Ryan goes, I wrote in my notes, Ryan's, oh my God, is so funny. Like, his moment of realization going, oh my God. Like, I know who this is. So funny.
Because, geez, Ryan, Newport has made you rude. Anyway, we've got so many comments on this. And let me get into a couple of this. How do you say Titi Venez? Titivvenez on Reddit. It was one of my favorite cold opens of the entire series.
I agree. And Seth, the like prompting doom thing, Seth being like, I had a pimple that was supposed to come, and like, yeah, it was a very, very
Things
funny.
are going too well right now.
Yeah. And this, another one-liner of the show. Like, he goes, doom's knocking. Don't open it. It's probably a flaming bag of crap. I'm like, that's fucking funny. Like, the one-liners, I was chuckling in this episode. I don't laugh out loud very much when I watch like television or movies. I was chuckling.
I know. I was too.
There's a lot of funny lines in this one.
I know. I think that's why.
So Caitlyn Cooper is a flaming bag of crap. According to Seth. Which, given what's going to happen in later episodes, you know what? She is a flaming bag of crap.
Oh, man. Benjamin H. Logan said, I loved it. She was perfect for that role. Shailene Woodley is amazing, but Willa just nailed that OC vibe. Season 3 started to be such a bummer, but I feel like bringing Caitlyn back got the show hitting the high notes again. Whew.
I know people have said, like, you look like Shailene Woodley. In this episode, you and Willa actually look like mother and daughter.
On the show.
Like, yeah. In this episode, when you see each other hugging, you guys it looked like mother and daughter.
Right. And I like that development of when she comes in, you know, she's looking one way for the boys.
Britney Spears, the skirt, the tied up top, and like boobs.
Boobs for days that Willa says in the book. She's like, she said, it was the first time I had to use those chicken cutlet things. I'd never had those before. And then now she's got all sweet and innocent for her mom.
Her buttoned up to her neck with her nice 2 little braids. And she's like, Mommy.
Yeah. And you know, Julie comes in and once again, we feel like she's just gone, and off screen, Julie has a life with her. She talks to her. She's, you know, but she's obviously hasn't told her about the trailer park and blah, blah, blah.
This was because obviously we're watching these out of order. So seeing you walk in and be like, where's my baby? Like, I miss her. I was like, Julie's so sweet. And I thought it was very funny how it was like, no, Caitlyn is me. Marissa is Jimmy. Like, this isn't going to go well.
It's a great way to let the audience know more about the character.
Yeah. And I want to say, before you get into reading more comments, it was super endearing. So obviously you take Caitlyn, or Julie takes Caitlyn back to the trailer park, and you're like, it's Tiffany Blue. And you're pulling out the pull-out bed, and you're like, and you know, slumber party and this and that. And I just thought it was really endearing. And like, it shows Julie's character arc so much, because you were just trying to do everything to make your little girl like feel comfortable and showing all like the good things that could come. Like, I was like, I've never seen Julie this positive.
Right.
You were like Julie was just positivity. Like, and because we watched these out of order, I don't remember know what happened right before this. And I'm like, Julie was just radiating positivity. And it was super endearing that you were just trying to do it all to make her comfortable.
It's like I said, it's a life lesson. You can see that no matter what is going on in your life, if you have the skill, if you have the ability to change your perspective, to focus on the positive, then it can be positive. It's
welcome to my mom's TED Talks. I get about one of these a week.
But it's true. If you focus constantly on negative, like what I don't have money. Attitude of gratitude. If you focus on negative, you can't do both at the same time. So if you constantly have that positive, and I guess she's also selling it too. There's a part of her.
But it's cute. Like Julie's like doing her best to sell it.
Yeah.
No, Mom, I think we'd have a really successful self-improvement podcast, motivational self-improvement podcast. Okay. Yeah. We can call it Mindy's TED Talks.
I was just having a conversation with my brother Josh, your uncle, and we were talking about something. He's like, "Why don't you talk about that on the podcast?" And I was like, "What?"
Because we talk about the OC.
We were talking about life. But somebody actually said on YouTube,
Salt and Iron 3379. They said, "What was it like to shoot scenes in the trailer park home? The camera work looked more off-kilter, and some of the dramatic scenes between Julie and her daughters almost felt like a crime drama."
I thought that was...
It's like watching Dateline.
Yeah, no, because it was a real trailer, and it was so close, and it was dark, and it was, they put we found out they rent the trailer. It was that working trailer. It was all of that, which is actually so retro and wild and cool.
Why don't you just move to a trailer already? You keep telling me how you're going to retire to a trailer park.
Well, it's more like those, there's these really cool communities on the beach that are...
Go move into a Tiffany blue trailer.
I know, right?
With a pull-out bed.
On Paradise Cove. Anyway, so it was challenging to be in there. It was close. But you know what? There was things about it that I liked, because when it had to be so close... only the camera operator can be there, or the camera and the two actors. It's very intimate. So it just feels like you're shooting a scene in your living room. So there were a lot of people who actually were kind of annoyed when they saw, that took the negative, or just took the criticism of the fact that they recast, and that it was just so unbelievable. And it's just like, of course they did this in a show that feels like reality. If you watch soap operas, they recast. When my own father on Days of Our Lives, he chose to retire, even though they had a storyline, and he was getting a little bit older, and he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I've got to retire. After 39 years on the show, they just replaced him with somebody else because they had the storyline planned. So it's like jarring to put a brand new actor. So this is I thought
they killed his character.
Nope, they just recast it. He died later on in the show, I think. But no, they just recast it with another actor.
That's so weird.
So it was hard for people to see this or to accept it. And somebody else said, Rick Thrust on Reddit, in response to casting Willa being too unbelievable, somebody had said that. And he said, hard disagree. Shailene Woodley was 11 or 12 in season 1. Willa Holland was 14. While playing a 14-year-old character in season 3, that's too close to call in terms of aging a character from my vantage point. And in the world of soaps, it isn't unusual for a character that in 4 or 5 real years to magically become a teenager. Totally, it happens all the time. Creatively, they had to at least try to bridge the storyline gaps between Julie and the kids with something more than Taylor. It also kept the show young, at least in theory. And I think this person hit the nail on the head, because I went into the book, and this is a abridged version of what Stephanie Savage had to say. We aged up Kaitlin because it felt like Marissa had aged out of some of the activities, the delinquent activities, where it's not fun now if Marissa's drinking, driving, getting in trouble in that way. As with Kirsten, at a certain point, you have to have an intervention and deal with some of these things. Kaitlin could be a fraudster. So we needed to bring on somebody that could do the things that Marissa was doing a few seasons before. And it didn't mean like we can't continue to repeat what she's not on a realistic journey.
Right.
If she continues to do the same thing she did in season 1. So that being said.
So yeah, someone else on Reddit though, LaRusso Films, which I agree with this quite a bit, saying that the problem is that Shailene looked way younger than 12 in the first season. Meanwhile, Willa looked way older than 14 in the third season. So the public is like she aged 8 years in only 2 seasons, which I completely understand that. Like Shailene Woodley did not look 12. She looked like 8 years old.
Right.
In the first season. Like when you only see her a couple times, she's very short. She's super little. She looks like 8 years old. So when I was watching it for the first time and I had no idea who this girl was, Because when I watched it, I didn't know Caitlyn Cooper was coming. I had the same reaction as everyone at home watching it. And I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, how long has she been gone? Because she definitely aged like 6 years in, I guess, what is supposed to be like 2. But age-wise, it was actually accurate. Like, Shailene was 12, Willa was 14 or 15. Like, it was actually accurate. But like was said in the book, like, Shailene went through puberty at a different time and those kinds of things. And I don't know if you have that passage pulled up and want to read it.
It was an interview with Shailene that she said she was like 6 months behind in puberty. And even though they were only 6 months apart, they just didn't look the same. But Willa really was only 14 when this was shot and when she got the role. In fact, by the time this aired, she was still only 14 and a half. So when they were doing the casting, Josh said Shailene was young and we wanted someone who could be the Muppet Babies version of the cast, like the next generation. Shailene felt a bit too young, and Willa felt like Misha. She had the great sardonic attitude and presence and just felt like really fun new potential antagonist. Because they looked at people, Hayden Panettiere, is that how you say it? Hayden Panettiere, and Britt Robertson, Lily Collins, and they met with Emma Stone.
Oh, everyone says you and Emma Stone look like identical.
Oh, like I could be her mom.
I've seen so many articles saying like Melinda Clarke needs to play Emma Stone's mom in a movie.
Right. And it said, Stephanie said she looks so much like Melinda, and Josh said she just felt green in the moment. And I was so curious about that statement because I was like, okay, this was 2006. And I looked, this is just me. I went to IMDb and I looked at Emma's filmography. She had worked, and she got Superbad very shortly after this. You know, that's only a few years, another year off. And I was like, maybe she just had a bad audition, or because I don't know. I just feel like she could have played it. But then again, Willa looked so much and sounded so much like Misha.
Yeah, regardless of what happened, I think Willa was perfect.
Right.
It was perfect. Seeing the three of you standing together, Misha, Willa, and you, like in your Newport outfits with the hair and makeup, I'm like, you guys look like you could actually be a family. Like, it worked.
Yeah. I think Emma Stone would have come across too innocent, actually, to play that pot stir.
I agree. I think Hayden Panettiere as well. And I think Lily Collins could have had the right look. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just think Willa Holland was perfect.
Yeah.
I have no qualms with Willa Holland.
Yes. I think when it comes down to what the storyline and that they wanted to write and the physicality of it, I think it was great casting.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So she was a great addition to the show, and once again, now we have some troublemakers. And it makes so much sense that between Taylor and Willa, and they both became series regulars after this. Because, we needed that.
She's such a pot stirrer. This like guy comes to the door, and see, I've only watched this show once, so I don't remember things. I'm kind of like Rachel. I don't remember I don't remember anything. And I'm like, Ryan opens the door. I'm like, what is Jasper from Twilight doing here?
Yeah.
I'm like, why is he here? And he's giving me the eyes he always gave in Twilight. What is he doing here?
Right.
But so Caitlin's involved in some big scheme where she stole money. And of course, Ryan gets involved being the hero he is.
And she so easily slips off the tongue all the different little lies.
She's a compulsive, beautiful liar.
Yeah. Really good. And she's figured it out. When you introduce a character, basically you're reintroducing a character. They never had a storyline like this for Kaitlin with Shailene. Now you've got a storyline where it's all character development very quickly in one episode to just see what she's really up against. And then all the things that she's trying to get away with. And then eventually she has this conversation with Marissa that says, I knew you guys were in the trailer park. My friend's dad owns this. I stole the money for you guys.
Yeah.
So then you actually see that she has this. This is another little TED talk. If somebody's doing something wrong, angry, whatever, ask yourself, is there a positive intention behind this person's actions? See if you could figure out. Now, this one would be a hard one to figure out, but it really was. But for some reason, she feels the need. Why can't she tell the truth? She can't just come to her mom and sister and say...
Well, I think the Cooper-Nickel family, they're not ones that share emotions like that. not until this season when you see Julie and Marissa actually becoming close again. Like, they weren't like that. This family was all about money and like wouldn't share how they were really feeling and all that stuff. Like, I understand why and also like if she's had to, like when she's in Montecito, had to lie and cheat and figure this out. It's just what she knows. Mm-hmm. So she didn't feel like she could be honest. And I get it.
But also, I think what's interesting is they leave us with this feeling of, oh, the sympathy. Like, they need us to love this character.
Dun, dun, dun.
But she's still going to be a troublemaker just because she tells Marissa that, you know, she's still going to be on her own journey and cause havoc. So
that's another mom TED Talk, everyone. Everyone's on their own journey. Everyone get you a mom like Melinda Clark who gives you a couple TED Talks a week to help you better your life.
I just think that if everyone can look back on their journey and think about the things that we regret, or we think, oh, we made mistakes, or all these things. What if you just normalize that that's part of your journey because you take lessons from everything that happens?
We really need to start like a self-improvement podcast.
Right. Well, anyway.
Right.
Okay. So we have some really interesting guests that I want to get to, but this last comment I just thought was so funny. From Glow Key on Instagram, there is one thing I will never understand. Why Ryan's haircut changed so many times while Seth's hair never did. I really love the series and it will forever be my fave.
I didn't notice Ryan's hair change.
His hairstyle is always changing. So when, you know what I'll do is I'll have Troy, come on. We had Troy and Cindy on at one point, but we'll bring them back on and we'll discuss that. Leave that one dangling, okay?
Okay, that's funny.
Is there anything else you wanted to comment on this? It was really anything...
this episode...
Kaitlin running off into the beach, throwing her clothes off.
Going to skinny dip in the beach. But I'm also like, I did that when I was her age.
Okay, so I'm going to let our guests know
just
we are
brushing
ready.
Over what I just said.
Sorry, say it again.
No, it's fine. The listeners will hear.
Okay, guys, we are here with some very special guests. So nice to meet you, Tara and Haley.
Hi.
You guys have a fabulous and very popular podcast, Gilmore to Say. And we wanted to talk to you because, well, you guys do the same thing we do, and it's nostalgic television and the cultural impact of all of this. And thank you for being here.
Of course. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us. We love talking to other nostalgia podcasts because we're all here to do the same thing. It's so exciting to talk about shows that we love, shows that maybe we were on, and just really excited to revisit them.
Yeah. When did you guys start your podcast?
So we started back in January of 2022. That was when we first launched. So we've been going for a little over 2 years now. And it was because Haley and I actually, during the pandemic, both developed our own individual followings on TikTok because we were talking about Gilmore Girls. And there's such a deep fandom there that, and TikTok obviously just absolutely blossomed during COVID.
Oh yeah.
So it was,
I can attest
the place
to that.
Be. Yeah. It was something that we all kind of used to stay connected and to bond over certain things. And so I think a lot of people kind of came out of the woodwork on things they loved. They leaned into things they loved and creators who talked about those things. And so Haley and I both, again, developed individual followings on TikTok, and that's how we found each other. And turns out I'm living in New York. Haley's now living in Georgia, but we both worked on Broadway pre-pandemic. And so that's how we connected with each other, and also with our love for Gilmore Girls. And so we were talking and I was like, I know we don't know each other. We're total strangers, but do you want to do a podcast together? And she was like, yeah, maybe. And so we started having conversations. And then in January of 2022, we launched.
That is a great story.
That's
I had
so
no idea.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I'm like picturing, you guys are back in high school together and you're watching the show together, but you're too young.
No, not at all. No. But I guess we were watching the show together, but separately. Yeah. Like we were both watching it, just not together. So that's what's been so fun.
I was just saying a minute ago, like how the internet's a really scary place, but then it also does things like that. So
yeah, exactly.
There's not so scary parts about it sometimes.
100%.
Yeah. And I do think that it's because of like what we love is in common. Like there's this sense of like nostalgia that we have that like if you like listen to our podcast, like binge it, you listen to us become friends over this thing that we both loved since we were like 12 years old. And I think that we attract people who feel that same way, who feel like either the nostalgia because they watched a show like Gilmore Girls or The OC when it was airing, or they are way too young to have watched that then. And so they have this nostalgia for like wanting to be a part of that sort of like time period, which it's like almost now like a period piece to have TV shows in the early 2000s, it feels like. But I feel like it made it like the safe part of the internet because we all just loved the same thing in a very nostalgic way.
For sure. I completely agree. Like during the pandemic, I was talking about like Vampire Diaries on my TikTok and things like that. And oh my God, the following for that one is crazy and just met so many people.
Oh, these fandoms run deep. They are so like they have such allegiance to these shows that they loved growing up. Oh my God, it's crazy in the best way.
It really can be a time capsule. You just made that point. That have you found that because of your podcast or things like that, that young audiences are discovering these shows early? Do you get fan reaction about how it was back then, even though it's like it was more than 20 years ago. For ours was 20 years ago. And what year did Gilmore Girls start?
2000.
2000.
Oh, okay.
So the 25th anniversary is coming up next year. Yeah, which is crazy to think about. Yeah, absolutely. I think that there is a level of nostalgia that people yearn for who watched the show growing up, but also something that feels so unattainable for people who are discovering it now because they don't have access to a time before the internet as we do. You know, we remember what it was like to kind of maybe not necessarily be in the same shoes as someone like Marissa Cooper, but we know what it's like to kind of be in that time period where you could disappear. You don't like no one has access to you in the same way that they do now. And there's something really exciting about that, even if you didn't get to experience it.
Gilmore Girls is still one of the highest rated shows today.
Yeah. It's one of like the top streamed shows.
Like, can you explain that right now? I mean, I'm not up on
because I think it was like number 8 in streamed shows last year in terms of acquired TV and new TV, like new Netflix shows. And I think it was behind like Bluey on, if you'll watch that on Disney. So it was like, it really just speaks to like the fact that at the time, Gilmore Girls was like a pretty popular show, but it was not nearly as popular as it is now.
Wow.
And I think that like had to do with streaming, but like, that's a question that we get asked literally all the time, that like, why do people continue to watch this show? And I don't think that there's any one answer, because I think that Tara and I would give different answers for it too. But I really just think it's like such a comfort show.
Oh, it's such a comfort show.
Yeah. And there's something about it. It's like they're yelling at each other in the streets, but like,
yeah, somehow I'm comforted by that.
We still love to watch it. And like, we call it like our cozy show.
Yeah. Do you find the same is true for the OC, for their fans?
Not as much as, for instance, just in my own little research, this show and The Office actually has a growing audience, especially The Office, which is kind of an interesting phenomenon that people are still just discovering it. The OC, I think, was, it burned really bright in the beginning, and it had some, the dedicated fans. There were some people who were very upset about Marissa passing and season 4.
Yeah.
And so it was only the 4 seasons. So I don't know that it's not has nearly the popularity as Gilmore Girls, especially if it's growing.
Yeah.
No, I think there's something really interesting, but I do feel like the pandemic was scary. And because we were all stuck in front of our homes, theaters, so to speak, we wanted things that were comforting, and nostalgic television did that. And also just doing a podcast during that time, I think people were like, hey, we're doing something together. And because we kind of got on the rewatch podcast train kind of on the early side, apparently.
Yeah.
And then that was 21.
Oh, yeah. That was a good year for podcasts.
And now it's like, I love your little description. You guys write, oi, with the rewatch podcast already. But yeah. But I think what's interesting is, it's not just like you said, it's comforting to, and especially if you're podcasting in a way that your voice speaks and sounds familiar to the people listening. And yeah, it's been such an interesting ride.
Yeah, definitely. And we learned a lot along the way about what our listeners wanted to hear us talk about, and how they wanted to connect with us. And I think building community is so important. So the fact that community was already there for us to tap into was really perfect, and it's only grown, which we're so excited about. But also, we feel like we haven't even tapped into like even a portion of how large this fandom is, because like you said, it's still growing. So like the discoverability is still there, which is really exciting. On a totally unrelated note, I remember when the OC was airing, because I wanted to watch it so bad and my mom wouldn't let me. She was like, no, you can't watch that show. And I was like, but why? I just wanted to watch it so badly. But the kind of the gap that's bridged between Gilmore Girls and the OC is that in 2003, when you guys started, our show lost a character that the fandom loved so much.
Very beloved.
In Adam Brody, who played Dave Rogowski, and he left Gilmore Girls to play Seth Cohen, which, I mean, like, I'm so thrilled for him, because that was such an iconic character for him to play. But Gilmore Girls fans were heartbroken and still are.
I will say, when I watched Gilmore Girls for the first time, I only watched it for the first time, I think like 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Really?
And I love it. Yeah. It was just not, I love it now. It's one of my favorites. But I remember seeing Adam Brody, and I didn't realize the timeline was like that, because I was like, where did he go? I was like, what? He needs to be here. Like, him and Lane are perfect.
I know.
Why?
They're
why
perfect
is
for
he
each
here?
other.
And you saying that, I'm like, that makes so much more sense.
And they even slipped it in there. They were like, he's going to California. Like, he went to college in California. And it's just watching it in hindsight, knowing exactly where he was going and exactly what was about to happen to his career is so exciting. But also, we wanted him and Lane to be endgame.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
I think I remember reading an interview about it, and he was recurring, right? I think he had a number of episodes, and he had to.
Mm-hmm. He was in most of season 3,
or that they were going to try and work it out so he could do both or something. Or I can't remember the details of it, but yeah.
I feel like that would have been so hard for him, because he was such an integral piece to the OC. And he was recurring on Gilmore Girls. He wasn't one of the main characters, so I understand why they couldn't really barter that. But man, do we wish we could have seen it. And when Gilmore Girls ended up being revived in 2016, I think we all would have kind of loved to see him come back as well. But I don't know. We don't really know what happened there. At that point, like, Lane's story had been so far removed from Dave's character that we kind of understand, but I think all of us hoped for it a little bit.
We just wanted a little glimpse of him.
Everyone wants the other characters to come back. Like, the ones that they lost in the beginning, it's like as I'm watching the OC, I'm like, so can Luke come back? Like, when's he coming back? Like, I want, you want the original people in the earlier seasons always to come back. And you're like, what are they doing now?
100%.
Where are they?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Where are they?
Since you mentioned the quote reboot, when we interviewed Adam, we asked, everybody, and we talk about this because people always say, would there be any kind of reboot for the OC? And it was there. The offer was there, but basically Fox has always said that they would do it only if Adam and Ben said yes, and they have no interest in doing that.
Yeah.
Adam's response was, is there ever a good reboot? That was his question. Like, he questioned, and he even questioned, the Gossip Girl. He was even a bit critical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you think the reboot that came out for Gilmore Girls?
Well, it is very criticized within the fandom.
And by us.
And by
us as well.
By me as well.
And also, yes.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, is that I think it was really trendy, or it was starting to become trendy in 2016 when the reboot came out, for reboots to happen. And I think eventually audiences kind of wore out on that. They were like, oh, do we need this? And I think for Gilmore Girls fans, what was really, really poetic is that Amy Sherman Palladino did not get to finish the series out. In 2006, she could not meet an agreement with the WB, and subsequently she did not do the 7th season of Gilmore Girls. She wanted 8 seasons, and they wouldn't give it to her. They said, we'll give you 7 with the possibility of an 8th. And she was like, no, I can't, unless we get an 8th season and we're guaranteed that, I can't finish the story. And so they finished it without her. And then the show got canceled. So I think it's really poetic that she got to come back and finish her story her way. And for those reasons, I loved that they did the reboot. But because she came back and finished the story on her own terms, a lot of those characters kind of stood frozen in time for like
10 years.
9 years. Yeah. And so you're kind of like, wait, what have you guys been up to in the last 10 years that you haven't talked about having babies? You know, this person is kind of still in the same place at the same time. Like, what has happened since then? And there was definitely some movement, but I think that it in turn kind of stunted the story a little bit because these characters didn't really seem like they had gone too far away from where we left them in 2007, 2006. And so I think that that's a huge reason why a lot of people had some qualms with the execution of the story.
Yeah.
And I also, from what I understand, Amy wasn't super familiar with what had happened in season 7. She didn't want to watch it. So she kind of had to have other people update her on what had happened. And that can be a really hard place to start from, writing wise.
Yeah.
So I think there were some things that satisfied fans. I think there were a lot of things that didn't. But we actually are doing a rewatch on Patreon, and we haven't gotten there yet. And I'm really intrigued to see how we feel about it from less of a consumer watching it for that comfort, that revisiting of like what feels like comfort food kind of show, and more on a with a critical eye.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I think that's what so many people say, reboot, but I don't think that it doesn't, there could be a checklist of what everybody wants. We could do it and they're still not going to be happy. I just think, I don't think
exactly.
it's just a dangerous road to go down. And
1000%.
And there was a level of it when it came on in 2016 that I was really excited because like I had been devastated that it was canceled in 2007. And like, it was like, the center of my life was Gilmore Girls. Yeah. And so when it got rebooted, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I sat there and I watched all 4 of them. I cried. I was like, felt like I was back with my friends. Like it was just an exciting thing. But like when I like stopped it and it was over, I was kind of like, what was that? What just happened?
Yeah, it was like a fever dream of your favorite TV show.
I think the consensus for most people is like, it's so hard to walk away from that. Yeah. And not feeling like all of the characters afterwards were now unlikable based on what had happened there, because it just didn't, I don't know, it should have been kept in the 2000s, and like pulling it outside of that, I don't think it was the story.
Well, that's interesting. If they'd kept it like this, you know, even though all the actors have aged, maybe you could like age them down. Oh, that's
yeah, why not?
Interesting.
And it's interesting because a lot of people have, you know, a lot of fans have been like, I want to see, you know, a second reboot and I want a Year in the Life too. And we're like, no, we're good. I think we're okay. Yeah. Sometimes it's good to leave well enough alone.
I agree with Brody a little bit. Like doing a reboot, like is there ever really one that's going to be like really good?
That was the question. He said, name me one that's good. And
I can't name one.
Did you guys watch the Will and Grace reboot?
Oh, yes, I have. Yeah.
I haven't watched it, but I think that was I don't want to speak for them because I didn't watch the show growing up, but I think that was one that
I think it was. Yeah. Received. Because I mean, just Sean Hayes is one of my favorites. Yeah. I thought I hadn't seen it, but I thought that the Arrested Development one had some success, but then it was criticized as well. I don't know. I just think nowadays
it's always going to be criticized.
Well, so this is one of my last questions to you. I was going to say, well, my question was, what do you hope viewers would take away from revisiting shows like The OC and Gilmore Girls in today's media landscape? But it is true. It's like our fans are told to have a voice now, and we have like podcasts, and we're on Patreon, and we have Instagram, and they're so much a part of it. How do you deal with the criticism or new, I don't know, what are your thoughts on the then and now kind of thing? Like clearly politically incorrect or just things you don't do now?
Yeah, I will say when I went back and rewatched Gilmore Girls for the second time, they say a lot of things that I was like keeping a tally of the things they say that would not fly today.
Never.
I was like,
never fly.
Yikes.
We call that out a lot, especially in our rewatch on Patreon, you know, because it's right there in front of our faces. But I think speaking to the medium that early 2000s television offered us that is no longer really offered today, Haley has spoken to this a lot when we talk about this show, is that right now streaming, and of course streaming has made Gilmore Girls more popular. You can binge everything at the drop of a hat. What we love about Gilmore Girls is that the plot is kind of doled out very slowly in a way that we don't really get that today. A lot of shows are like 8-episode series, bing, bang, boom. You have to keep them engaged or you won't get renewed. And, networks and streaming services are so quick to cancel a show now. Whereas the plot of Gilmore Girls, and I think Amy herself spoke to this, that it was doled out so slowly and the stakes were never that high. And I feel like everything we watch nowadays has such high stakes that that's a component to why Gilmore Girls is so comforting, is that it's so well written. You fall in love with this world very slowly. And I think that that's hard to do these days. And I think that that's what I'd hope that fans who are now discovering the show would take away from it. That, they can like wrap themselves up in a world that reveals itself to them in parts and pieces instead of all at once and like shoving something down someone's throat,
Yeah. Did they do 22 episodes a year or did they do more? They did 22?
Yeah. They only had one season with 21, but the rest of them were 22.
Okay. So you make a really good point that I know that if I have there's so many series now that have 8, you're lucky if there's 10, and you can watch 2 each night and you can be done in a week. Whereas when you have 8 seasons, 7 seasons, whatever those seasons are, and you have that many episodes, it takes a while. And you feel like it's a comforting thing that, what do I get to do? Oh, I get to do this. Oh, my day is done. Let's watch an episode. And that's a really, really good point, that it doesn't feel so instant gratification. It feels like it's, even though the OC burned through so much storyline, we were so quick. Even though we were doing 27 episodes or something.
Wow.
I know.
Oh my God.
No, it feels like you get to live with it.
Yeah.
Instead of a week, you get to live with it for months at a time.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you were living with it for years. Can you imagine?
Literally. The fact that like we'll go back. I'm in the middle of a Desperate Housewives rewatch right now, which I love that show so much. And I've been watching it, and it's been that thing that I look forward to at the end of the day. Like when the day is done, I get to sit down with my tea and my meal, and I get to watch an episode or 5 of Desperate Housewives. And I love that, like, I can watch it now because it leaves me on, like, it keeps me on the edge of my seat. If I had to wait for this every single week back in 2004 or whenever this was airing, I don't know how people did it. Like we need that instant gratification now.
When I was a kid, I was watching Pretty Little Liars and waiting for a new episode every week. And I was like,
I remember
tearing
that.
my hair out, waiting to find out what was going to happen. And now you can just go next. Play next.
Yeah.
A would be in like a nurse's costume with their black gloves on, and they'd be like changing the
Where are you
vials on
going?
somebody's vitals, and you're like,
doing?
where are they going? And then it go to black, and you were like, no. Yeah,
No.
totally.
You just mentioned Desperate Housewives, and I wanted to, there's something else that Gilmore Girls, the OC, and Desperate have in common. It was Palladino's writing with the humor, Josh Schwartz's writing, and that our show wasn't even necessarily designed to be that way, but Adam had so much humor and comment, irony that he was doing. I think when you said that, that's one of the things that I think really set apart. And I think that the Gilmore Girls started that. I mean, Sex and the City was kind of funny.
Sex and the City is really funny.
For Freaks and Geeks, there was that, because Fox always thought that the OC was going to be the 90210, but it really was kind of My So-Called Life, Freaks and Geeks, the success of Gilmore Girls. It had a lot of that witty dialogue, those one-liners and such.
Definitely.
What other shows are like that now? I'm trying to think. Like, is there
not a lot?
Because Euphoria is not.
I wouldn't call it funny.
Right.
You could have picked a show, Mom, to say just now that was complete opposite of all of the shows you were talking
Because
about.
I've heard people compare the OC to Euphoria.
I guess I could see that if they're trying to go modern with it.
I mean, with like the teens acting a little crazy.
The teens acting out kind of thing. Yeah. But I guess, and in a much quirkier way, to stay with the Amy Sherman Palladino of it all, it's not in the same vein, but The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, I don't know if you guys watched.
Yes.
It was
so
like that, again, world building, story building. And she only had 10 episodes a season, but like it was so saturated with so many relationships that you were so invested in, and you were invested in her career and the relationship she had outside of that. And I think that, it's kind of challenging. I think I didn't watch it, but I heard Succession was a show that a lot of people were invested in the relationships. Maybe not like the quirkiness and the comedy.
It was still funny though.
I love Succession. I loved it. It was like
I
watching.
didn't watch it, but I heard.
It was like watching,
So
and the way
good.
they would shoot it. It was like
they had full episodes that were just all in the same room. So these actors get to.
I heard about that.
It was
one.
like watching a play, and they would rehearse it that way.
I think a show a lot of people got really invested in too, which I recently got really invested in, was Game of Thrones.
Yes, I was
for
also
sure.
about to say that because it was such a long,
really long. Like it was
saturated.
Yes,
really intense. Like waiting for the next episode, left on cliffhangers all the time, just like at the edge of your seat of what's going to happen. I think that show is one in recent years that has really done a good job of like capturing the audience the way these early 2000s shows were able to.
Yeah,
right. I mean,
definitely.
Grey's Anatomy is still on.
Oh yeah,
and actually
still on
had
the air,
some-
still
yeah,
going.
I can't believe
With
it's
Chris
still on.
Carmack.
I know.
Yeah, our friend Chris. Wow, it has been such a pleasure, you guys. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, it's been so
Yes.
lovely. We could
Yes.
literally
I know.
sit here
Oh my
and
God,
talk
we
to you
could
for
talk about
hours.
TV all day.
Right.
You guys have.
Oh my gosh, truly, like if we weren't on the East Coast and it was like almost 6 p.m., we could sit here and talk to you for hours. But thank you so much for having us on.
Yes.
We're cheering you on from, again, the
Yes.
East Coast. And hopefully we can connect again soon.
We would love to, if you ever need us to come and
Yeah.
chat with you guys, we'd be happy to do that.
Yeah,
course,
this was
we
so
love it.
fun.
100%,
I
we
love
love it.
talking nostalgic TV, and yeah, so thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you
Okay.
guys.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
Okay, that was so fun. I love chatting with the girlies.
Yes, it's really again, their podcast. Oh, I forgot to let them know.
Gilmore
or
to say, or
Gilmore
say it now.
to say, and it's Gilmore to say podcast.
I listened to a few of their episodes, and if you guys really like Gilmore Girls and you want to go like into it, they're really fun to listen to, and they have a funny banter with each other, and yeah, their podcast is super amusing, and I really liked it because I'm a Gilmore Girls fan. So
Great.
go listen.
Go listen. Again, thank you all for listening. Please be sure to check my Instagram stories and posts at the Melinda Clark, as well as our weekly Reddit thread for what episode we're covering next. Will it be one of your favorites? If so, please go to speakpipe.com/ocbitch. Please go to SpeakPipe. I need you guys to leave some voicemails for me so I can play them here.
Pipe.
speakpipe.com/ocbitch or email us at beyondtheocpodcast@gmail.com and let us know why. Why does it make it your favorite? What do you have a favorite line, favorite scene? We might play your voicemail like I just said on the show, or ask you to come on to, live to discuss. If you'd like to watch the podcast, check it out on the Beyond the OC YouTube channel, and you can leave comments there too.
And you can see us in our matching green sweaters. If you want to be a part of the conversation, join our Patreon. We release episodes early and ad-free there. And each week we have a Zoom discussion about podcast episodes that were released. And you can get in the audience here with us and watch us record our episodes live and leave little comments we might answer during the show. So it's a super fun community to be a part of. And next week, join us for number 43 in the countdown. It will be the telenovela, season 1, episode 20.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
And thank you, Stephen, Mary, for hanging out with us today. And I guess that's it. I have
With
nothing else
that
to
being
say.
said,
But CG, I only coughed once. Can you believe that? Oh gosh.
good for you.
Mind
did a
over
good job.
matter. Mind over matter.
Another mom TED Talk, guys. Mind over matter. With
Try not
that
to
being
cough.
said,
Bye, bitches.
bitches.
Bye.